Hi, I am Ana Resendes, lead software engineer for the World of Warcraft Classic team, and I am here super excited to talk about World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore.
Hey, and I'm Clay Stone, Associate Production Director on the WoW Classic team. Also, very excited to be here talking with you about WoW Classic Hardcore Realms.
Why is now a good time to have hardcore? This was something I know my friends and I, we did like our own personal hardcore. If we died, we wiped our characters, right? But this is the first time it's an official server, it's an official mode, an official game. There are rules. Why? I guess why did it take so long, and why is now the perfect time for classic hardcore mode?
I mean, World of Warcraft Classic has had a very interesting journey, right? Back 2019, when we first launched World of Warcraft Classic, the goal of the game was to replicate as much as possible, right? The exact way that the game used to exist in its original form of when it first came out. Kind of like, let's go back to their origins, remember how things were done, and the whole idea was like, well, hey, we don't want much changes, we want as little changes as possible. Like, of course, there were some, especially on the technology side of things, like bigger computers, better internet, we should definitely take advantage of that, right? So, and security also, it was one of the big ones. But that was our first commitment with World of Warcraft Classic, really, was to kind of like, let's go back and have the same behavior. As you know already, afterwards we went to Burning Crusade, and now we're in Wrath of the Lich King, kind of with a similar philosophy, but taking into consideration how the community has changed and acting a little bit more on that. But when Burning Crusade came out, we left some servers without any of the expansions. We call these era servers, where you had the opportunity to have a copy of your character or move your character to this server and get to keep playing in this era. So not only that, we also came out with Season of Mastery. And during Season of Mastery, it was like kind of like a first time that we dipped our toes into hardcore as a official support. And I'm quotation marks because it was not really it wasn't really an added feature that we wanted everybody else to engage in. But in Season of Mastery, you could go talk to some NPCs in Undercity and Ironforge, and they will give you the Soul of Iron, which was basically a buff that once you died, you lose it. But there was no other repercussions, but like you don't get the buff, and that's it. It's gone forever, and that's it. But we started seeing how many people engaged with that. We saw like people going crazy. Well, not going crazy, but like trying to push those boundaries and going all the way to the raids, killing Ragnaros and all of these things. And we continue to monitor that. And then earlier this year, we really saw that community engagement in the era servers, in what we call the unofficial hardcore servers, where the community was challenging themselves to go through this challenge. So that's when the team started noticing this even more, and it's like, hey, well, I mean, we already supported it in a certain way in Season of Mastery. Season of Mastery doesn't exist anymore. But it's something that the community really wants, and it's something that a lot of people are having a lot of fun, engaging on this. And we understand that being in an environment where not everybody is participating in the challenge is not ideal, because it can create some circumstances that are not the best, So we want to create like a place where everybody is in the same challenge, in the hardcore challenge, and everybody is like going through the same journey together. So that's when we decided, hey, it makes sense right now. People are having a lot of fun. Like we should invest on this. And get it done and give it to the player. So it's a little bit of the history of how Classic has basically evolved.
The only thing I'll add to that is we were playing it ourselves. We were diving into these quote-unquote unofficial hardcore realms and getting to experience what that level up process was like, awakening our eyes to a new look at Azeroth through the hardcore lens. And as Anna mentioned, we were all in on it. We were sold, and now seemed like the great time to do it.
Now, in terms of like servers, like with regular Classic, you have like vanilla servers. You go all the way up to Lich King now. But how did you guys go about deciding on like which patch you should base the first hardcore server on, or the hardcore servers on? And will you do the same thing as with regular Classic, have different servers that go to different expansions?
Nothing's necessarily decided yet as far as moving hardcore into future expansions like Burning Crusade Classic or Wrath of the Lich King Classic. But when we were looking at our classic era, one of the great things about it is that it's incredibly well designed. It's held up for so many years now. Through its final content phase with the release of Synaxaramus, we felt like that's a great sandbox. And something that we continue to see every time we release a new patch or a new expansion, 2 weeks into it, the community seems to be asking themselves, we're asking our friends, we're asking our friends of friends, is it too late for me to start? Have I already fallen too far behind? That's not really what hardcore is to us. I should actually go back and say, the answer is always no. It's never too late to start. Even on those patches and those expansions, there's always ways to catch up and play with your friends. But especially for hardcore, we never want the feeling to be, oh, I need to race to 60. I need to get there as fast as possible, and then I need to start doing end game content and raiding. That's really not what Classic is about, or sorry, what hardcore is about to us. That level 1 to 60 journey is meant to be slower, a little bit more deliberate. You pay more attention to your surroundings. You learn your class a little bit deeper than perhaps you would otherwise. So by releasing the Classic Hardcore realms in their final phase of our era servers, there's never any sense that you're falling behind, including if your character dies and you have to start over from level 1. It's really a focus on that journey at a slower, more deliberate pace.
It's funny because it's hard to explain that to people who maybe came into WoW in its later years, like more closer to retail when the game had changed more. But like the original vanilla WoW, even Burning Crusade, like leveling was the game. Like that was the game. It wasn't get to 60 do the end game content. That was the content. It's getting to 60. I think that's really funny. People don't understand that. I don't think about vanilla WoW. That's what it was.
Yeah, and hardcore even more, right? Like just. I mean, if getting to 60, like I remember in 2019 when someone got to 60 in Classic was something that people would celebrate, right? Because it takes a lot of effort. Now in hardcore is really like adding even more spice to it, right? And being like, yeah, like getting to 60 is a big feat, and it takes a long time, and like it needs a lot of planning and be careful with your execution. So yeah, we don't want people to be feeling like they need to rush right now. It's like, oh, the raid is coming out next week or in a month or something like that, and if I don't make it by then, and then take decisions that are kind of like, oh, then I'm gonna like under level is fine, and then like get into situations where they die, right? And then their whole journey, because we really believe that hardcore is about the journey more than the destination, for sure.
You guys talk about some of the rules. Like we've heard duel to the death. We know how some of this stuff works. But for someone looking at this interview, what are some of the rules about hardcore? Obviously, people know permadeath, but what are some of the more intricate rules about these servers that players will experience for the first time if they've never played or if they've never role played a hardcore server?
Death equals you're dead, right? Like there's no turning back. That's it for you. It's the end.
There's no res.
There's no resurrection. Done. Yeah, like we have to do some class changes, right? Like everybody, all the healers that resurrected, the ability is gone, any kind of items, anything that could like potentially get you back to life, all of that is done, including, for example, Bubble Heart, that will take you out of like specific situations. We also took a look at some of those class changes. So definitely that's the number one. Dead equals dead. You can still roam as a ghost if that's what you chose to do. You can still go, maybe be like that night elf that is just like a little blob. It's just running around.
The wisp just gathering wood. People are questing around you.
Well, the thing is like you cannot really perform any actions at that point. I mean, you could still talk to your friends in the guild chat or in party or whisper others, but that's about it. Maybe you can pretend that you're hunting someone, I don't know, but that's about it as a ghost. I mean, you always have the option that if you grew attached to your character and you want to continue the journey, you can always move that character back to the other era realms. So for free, you will be able to just get that character and continue its journey somewhere else. But at least the hardcore, that's it, no? The other feature that we also made sure in these servers is that all of them are going to be PvE, meaning that in order for you to engage into PvP activities is something that you are doing because you were looking for it, including, well, for example, going into the opposite faction cities, you're gonna get attacked. It's probably like you're getting yourself into that situation, right? But other than that, it's going to be like really you're going to have to either use the command to flag yourself as PvP or in your character's pro trait and set yourself as PvP, and then you can engage into PvP. At the same time, we also disable the opportunity for you to queue into battlegrounds. It didn't make much sense to have that option for the players, ask them players to work within the PvP honor system. That's also disabled because the whole idea is to go through the journey, and like adding that extra add of like honor will be something really complex. So we decided to stay away from that. That said, if you still want to go into Warsong or Arathi Basin, you can still go in and like challenge maybe another guild or your mortal enemies or something into the battleground. If you want to go and do that, you're more than welcome through a war game. You can still do that, but like the actual random, well, not random, but like that you queue with random people, that is out of the question. But we still wanted to allow people to continue to do PvP, right? Like if that's something they want to choose to do in the form of like, first you can flag yourself to engage in combat, and then we added the duel to the dead. That was definitely one of the features that came from within the team, right? Like it was kind of like we were talking about hardcore and to PvP and duels, and then it's like, wouldn't it be great if we just had like a duel to the dead where you actually just die after? And we were like, that's brilliant. So we decided to implement that, and it's been super fun to watch people in the PTR engaging with the duel to the dead. It's definitely the ultimate face-off, kind of like if you can resolve a conflict, this might be a tool, to actually trying to find the victor. So yeah, those are some of the things. I don't know, Clay, if you think about anything I've missed.
There are some creative changes that the team has made. Later on in the level of experience, there are some quests you can encounter that intentionally kill your character. The team has come up with creative solutions and workarounds so that the quests no longer kill you. I won't spoil anything here now, but we're excited for players to experience those and see what the changes are. So yeah, I think it speaks to a broader sense of a lot of little changes that the team had to make in order to support this whole notion that death equals delete, that death equals the end of your character. Outside of that, some other things that we changed, the level 1 through 60 experience, there really is that renewed focus, which we've talked about on that journey. One of the things that we don't want players to engage in, and that we hope that they wouldn't want to engage in either, since they're playing hardcore, is just dungeon spamming in order to level up their characters. We've implemented a 24-hour lockout timer to prevent players from running more than one of a dungeon every single day, to encourage them to continue leveling up in the outdoor world. And then there's some other things around dungeons too. That's through the level up process, but then once you hit 60, that restriction is lifted. You can spam dungeons to your heart's content once you reach 60 up until that point.